Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies, where we explore all things cinema. I want to welcome back to the show Nat Segaloff, who is a writer, producer, journalist, and Hugo and Locus Award nominated author of more than 24 books and about filmmakers and film history, including The Exorcist Legacy. He's written extensively about the film industry and worked on A&E's flagship biography series, as well as programming for the Learning Channel, New World, Disney, Turner Classic Movies, and USA Network. Nat, welcome back. Always great to have you.
Well, thank you, Robert. It's a real pleasure seeing you again, and especially on this subject. Thank you.
My pleasure. I really enjoyed the book. I must say, when you mentioned it to me, I was hesitant because I thought I don't really like the franchise of. I mean, I like First Blood a lot, but we'll get into the sequels in a minute. But then again, I saw some interesting things that you pointed out this time around. But I really enjoyed it. There was it's so much that I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of Rambo fans discovered a lot of new information that they didn't know. But off the top, I was listening to an interview with you, and because now we have another franchise book of yours after The Exorcist Legacy, and you were talking about how you and your agent discovered that this is very marketable. There's a lot of big anniversaries, 45th anniversary, 50th anniversary of classic movies and things like that. So this is very marketable nowadays. So as a writer, if you hit on something that's marketable, is that enough for you to say, yes, I'll do it? Or does something else have to really stimulate you to say yes to a Rambo books, so to speak?
You sort of write for what the market will bear. And in my case, the market is not just the audience, but it's also the publishers. The publishers have to be intrigued about what you want to write about. And in many cases, we're dealing with editors or acquisitions people who are so young, they don't know anything about movies that were made 40 and 50 years ago. So it's tough sometimes to break their code because they're the ones who are really the buying audience surrogate. So when I want to write about a franchise or really write about anything, I have to make sure that the editor is receptive to it. And that's sometimes tough because we're getting to the point where so many people have done book scholarship for films over the last couple of years, especially people printing full oral histories on Facebook, that you're talking about a certain window. The film has to be old enough to be worthy of writing about, but not too young that it's already been done. So I'm a kind of an authorial demimonde.
I see. And it was interesting because, like I said, I really like the first one. The sequels I'm not crazy about, and I liked how you showed that a lot of the critical reception of the sequels was not very good, but there were some positive ones. So I appreciated the different perspectives you had. But I was just curious your own opinion, because I like sort of the tagline of that they're right-wing wet dreams, the sequels. But are they a little more thoughtful than that from your point of view, or are they just super, black and white, kind of turning him into a superhero kind of thing?
The Rambo sequels decline in interest and value as they go on, although I did find some things that were intriguing about them. The impetus for writing the whole thing was not only that I wanted to sell a book, but also David Morrell, who wrote First Blood in 1972, is an old friend of mine. We were connected by Sterling Siliphant, who was our mentor for both of us separately. And so we had a wonderful time on the thing. But the Rambo films are not just action movies, and this is what I found of interest in them. They are, in a sense, a way of chronicling America's involvement, some would say intrusion, in countries and cultures over the last 50 years. In the first one, of course, First Blood, the Vietnam War comes home. In the second one, Rambo First Blood Part 2, he goes back to Vietnam, to the place where he was incarcerated as a POW. So then I could discuss the POW and MIA controversy. I could also discuss the fact that he wants to win. He says, "This time, sir, do we get to win?" Well, we lost in Vietnam. There's no two ways about that. But the audience wanted a wish fulfillment. And so that's what the film did. And it went through the roof, box office wise. The other films, when he goes to Afghanistan, he goes to Burma, and he goes to Mexico, again, show our involvement in those cultures. And they're very complicated films politically, even though they may not be complicated dramatically. And I found the subtext in those films was more interesting and more fun to write about than the text.
I also what I I wasn't aware at all that First Blood had went through so many hands. I mean, Frankenheimer, the great John Frankenheimer was involved at one point, and Kirk Douglas had his share of ideas. He was originally supposed to be in it, and then he backed out because they Stallone didn't agree with his vision. Some of them sounded pretty interesting. I was curious, did any of those ideas sort of intrigue you enough to say, "Huh, that I would have liked to have seen that version of First Blood."
Yeah. Well, nothing to deny the important input of Ted Kotcheff, who directed First Blood, but the
Right.
John Frankenheimer version could have been stupendous. In
Yeah.
fact, it was his guidance and tutelage that they invented a first scene for the movie in their script, which is in the movie now. It's where Rambo is seen wandering down a road and he comes upon a homestead, which was the home of Delmar, which was the last person who was still alive from the unit that he served with in Vietnam. And when he finds that Delmar is dead, this breaks off any connection he had through human beings to Vietnam. And this is what begins his finally saying, I'm not going to be put up with this anymore. I'm not going to take it from Sheriff Teasel. And Stallone's performance is extraordinary in this scene. You
Yeah.
can see the hurt in his eyes. Now, mind you, this is the man who went in the ring with Apollo Creed for Rocky and is going to soon blow up a town. And to show this man being completely vulnerable, perhaps for the last time in the Rambo series, is an amazing piece of performance. And I found that really compelling on Stallone's part. So that's what intrigued me about it. That's what really moved me with First Blood and made me want to keep watching to see how this character changed and how Mr. Stallone changed.
Mm. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I find Stallone he actually is really quite good as an actor. He doesn't people don't talk about that very much. I think possibly my hunch is that because his choices often are very action driven, very commercial. But every now and then he would do something like this. Another good performance of his, I mean, besides from Rocky, of course, is like Copland. He's quite good in. I was curious, like the fact that he has this taste for franchises, with Rambo and Rocky and stuff. Do you, do you think that perhaps his choices with the Rambo series and the various action films? Do you think that he, would have didn't really quite reach his potential as an actor? Do you think if he had chosen more character driven films that would have we may have been talking about him more in this film? I mean, the end of First Blood, I mean, God, that monologue, it's a perfect piece of acting. I was just curious about your opinions about his choices in general.
You only get to make the films that they let you make, no matter how big a star you are. And I
Mm,
know there were lots of films that Stallone has tried to get going where they just didn't think it would make money, even though he was Sylvester Stallone. I mean, you got to remember, the man has been a box office star above the title for 50 years.
yeah, that's
Not
true.
a whole lot of people can do that. And so I would suspect, and although I don't know, is that he makes these franchise films so that he can make money on one of them, and then the next one they'll say, well, he made Rocky 10. Maybe we can take a chance on something like Nighthawks. It doesn't always work like that. These days, they want everything to be out of the chute a hit. But you do get a certain amount of cash and clout when you've had a hit. And you can then roll it over into something that's really a personal project. But he also tends to make these big box office films a personal project, too. Just as I found a way to explore the Rambo phenomenon by writing about all 5 films. I know Stallone has found a very personal hook for each of them. I mean, the third one, where he goes to Afghanistan, he was so concerned about the Afghani people that he wanted to make the film there. Little did anybody know that our friends, the Taliban, would later turn against us. But he did make a very personal choice in setting the film there. Or in Burma, the same thing. So he does put his heart into his films. There's
Yeah.
no two ways about that. He's
Right.
not just he actually does care about it. But again, they only let you make the films that they let you make.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I guess once you become that big of a star, you're either gonna have to chuck it or go with,
Yeah, I mean,
not only so many people could be Daniel Day-Lewis, right?
well, I look at it like I take Tom Cruise as the perfect example. When Tom Cruise decides to make a movie, 1,000 people get jobs.
Right.
Think about the pressure that's on you to make the right movie. And the same with Stallone.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point. The one thing I didn't know was that they turn there's all the this later became they sold them into like action figures, all this memorabilia, video games, and I can't help but wonder what is it? Why would something like that happen? And the only thing that maybe I'm just speculating there must be something within these movies that makes people think, well, they're just fun or they're just light or they're, but yet we're dealing with a veteran who has PTSD. So the only thing, I was curious your opinion is there something irresponsible about these movies that, the sequels, not the first one, of course, turning him into this sort of action figure, so to speak. I mean, some of the violence is quite, flashy and attractive. I couldn't help but wonder why would something like that happen, other than people must see something very light about these films. I was curious what you thought.
I've never been one to join retinue, so I really can't explain deeply why people would want to acquire all the gewgaws that come along with all the merchandising. I do know, of course, that merchandising has been around since even before Disney started selling Mickey Mouse watches. They're a tangible way of having a piece of the film with you. Before the advent of home video, of course, people would do anything, including pirate them, to get even a shred, a poster, a still, something that reminded them physically and that they could hold on to of the movie experience they'd enjoyed in the dark. But now that people can own the action figures and the T-shirts and the knives are especially collectibles. Actually, that's between Jimmy Lyle and Gil Hibben. Those are stupendous works of art. The knives that people collect at quite a top price. But as far as the action figures, I don't understand that either.
Right.
I know that I would doubt that guys play with them the same way that, say, somebody would play with a Barbie doll. But you can show your appreciation and try to bring Rambo home with you. And this is where my understanding of it stops. I don't make fun of it or anything. I just don't understand it.
Right. Yeah. Me neither. It's hard to it's hard to pinpoint. But I always find it interesting when some very really serious subject matter, but it becomes something. I mean, I know Stallone didn't want this to happen, of course, as you wrote in the book. He was against action figures and stuff like that. But I always wonder, where is this? How does that happen from a PTSD soldier?
I'll tell you a funny story that has nothing to do with Rambo. John Delancey, who is famous for playing the character of Q on Star Trek The Next Generation and its spin-offs, is an old and close friend of mine. And he told me the story how when he and his wife Marnie were going on a driving vacation with the kids, they have two sons who were at the time probably something like 6 and 8 years old. They pulled away from the house, and all of a sudden the younger boy, Owen, who lives in Canada now, and if he hears this, I'm sorry, Owen said, "We got to go back. We got to go back." "What's the matter?" "We forgot Dad. We forgot Dad." And Marty, his mother said, but your father's right here in the car. And Owen says, no, we got to go back. We forgot Dad. So they went back. And what Owen brought out was his father's action figure from Star Trek. The Q action figure. They forgot Dad. So action figures have different levels of emotion from the various people who own them.
Yes. Yeah. That's a whole other psychology to explore, right?
Yeah, I know.
Is there, again, because what I really appreciated about the book is all of the perspectives, and you talk about the novelizations of the movies, the various ideas people had and drafts, and James Cameron co-wrote the second one, which I forgot actually that he was involved.
Yeah, it's an amazing script.
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciated that you really took it from so many different angles and explored. But from everything that you write about, is there just one thing that is really important for you that you'd like the audience to take away from it?
I think it's the overwhelming sense of Rambo being a very, very hurt puppy. That's the thing that shows to various degrees in all the films, and in fact is what informed the changed ending on the first film. Rambo is a character who's been given PTSD because of his involvement in war. There are hundreds of thousands of our veterans who have fought wars for America, and many of them return with PTSD. By the way, at about the time that certain people in our government have now fired most of the people in the Veterans Administration. I mean, think of it. You've got all these veterans who know how to use weapons, who nobody's looking after anymore. But the PTSD angle is very, very important because it shows that Rambo is really comfortable only in war. He hates war, but at the same time, he's become acclimated to it. It's the sort of thing that John Hersey wrote about in The War Lover, or that David Hare wrote about in his play, More, that this stimulation is something that you hate, but at the same time, you have to give in to. And the end of Rambo, and here comes a major spoiler, in the book, Rambo dies. He assists Colonel Troutman, the Richard Crenna character, in killing him because he just can't deal with it anymore. Stallone and Ted Kotcheff, but especially Stallone, fought for an ending where Rambo lives, as illogical as it might be. And here's the reason why. Because Stallone said, I don't want veterans watching this movie to think that suicide is the only way out.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and I also appreciated that at the end you have different resources for veterans to go to.
Yeah. I just hope somebody's there to answer the phone.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
I mean, the person who was my contact, who didn't want to be named because it was government, I checked back on him just before the book came out to see, are these links the same? Are the phone numbers the same for the Veterans Administration? And he said, yes, but I've just been fired.
Oh, God.
So I hope they are.
Yeah. God. Me too. Me too. But yeah, that for anyone who knows someone or is struggling themselves and reading this book, there's plenty of resources towards the back. If people want to get the book, Nat, where would you suggest they go?
Well, they're the usual places like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but I'm happy to report that the publisher, Kensington Citadel, has placed the book in actual real live brick and mortar bookstores. Oh, wow. So it's on the shelf. I know, it's a novelty for me. So that and The Exorcist Legacy on my Scarface book. You know, you come out with a publisher big enough, they can lean on the bookstores, and they have them there. So I'm thrilled to be able to, I'm getting all these pictures, including from you, people who go in and buy books in bookstores.
I saw the naughty bits. Yeah, the Naughty Bits, which is I love that book. I saw right on a small dedicated cinema shelf, and there it was.
Now, did you stand the book on edge for the picture, or did the book have an erection?
I did not stage it. That was exactly how it was.
Far out.
Yeah, no, it was great to see. So, and for anyone in Canada, you'll know Indigo, but Indigo is basically like our Barnes and Nobles. If you know, for our American friends out there, that's the equivalent. So it's a big deal. So there it is.
Yeah. Thank you. My publisher was very happy, by the way. He's a fairly new publisher, and he's happy to see that his book is getting bookstore space. I mean, it really did move him.
That's great. Great. No, great to hear. Are you I can't, for some reason, even though I've had you on so many times, I'm blanking on your social media. Are you a social media guy or not really?
I'm antisocial. The only thing I have is Facebook. Right. And I have my own website too. And that's purely so people who Google me can see that I have a couple of different sources. I've never been very good on social media. You know, I have a life.
Right.
I don't really. Oh, I just went to the bathroom today. Oh, look, I'm serving. I'm writing is what I'm doing.
Right.
Get also, it's like Larry Gelbart, the great writer, said. The first trick of being a good writer is to take solitaire off your computer. So
that's a good one. Well, I will leave your website in the description box if people want to follow Nat and see what he's up to. So highly recommend getting the Rambo. Again, the book is called The Rambo Report. 5 films, 3 books, 1 legend. And you have a new book coming out, or is it already out, the Bogart Houston?
Oh, it's awful. I do. Bogart in Houston. It's about Humphrey Bogart and John Huston, their films, their friendship, and the adventures they had together. That's coming from Pegasus Books on August 5th here. And I'm really proud of that because it's one of these marriages made in Hollywood. The men had nothing in common except they love movies. And boy, did they ever make movies like The African Queen and Treasures Madre and Maltese Falcon. And then a few days before that, I have the trade paperback version of The Exorcist Legacy coming out from Kensington. That has a whole new chapter on Exorcist Believer and an interview with Michael Blatty, so you can hear some of the inside stories about the whole Exorcist business. And then in October, Leonard Maltin and I have done a book together.
Oh, yes, of course.
Every movie is a miracle. That's coming out from Sticking Place Books, the same people who brought you the Naughty Bits.
Yes.
And that's in production now. So I've been writing up a storm instead of being on social.
That's why you don't have a social media, because you're
Right.
busy.
I,
Busy man, busy man. Well, I will. We also discussed the Exorcist legacy book, so I'll leave the link in the description box if people
thank
want
you.
to read that. Also recommend getting it, and I know you'll be back soon to discuss the Bogart and Houston book. So I look forward to reading that, and we'll have you back sometime down the road. So Nat, thanks again for
Well,
coming.
thank you, Rob, for being such a strong supporter and for doing such good work with other people too. I appreciate your works with Joe McBride and things like that. I'm a fan of yours too.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks so much. And everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, head over to the link, patreon.com/Robert Bellissimo at the movies for full details. You can also leave a donation, or what I call a tip, by clicking the thanks link, which you will find directly below the video frame. Just click on that and you can leave a donation if you choose to. Of course, I would greatly appreciate that. And lastly, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free to do so. By pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the movie logo, you will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that. And then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new videos. I would also really appreciate if you leave a comment, share the video, like the video. All of these things create traction onto my YouTube channel and really help share the video far and wide, and the channel in general. So thank you so much for doing that, and I will see you all in the next one.